if I'm starting from scratch, kind of feels like I've missed the boat, So is now the best time, or is it the worst time, Sean, to start something new?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think if we have to face the facts, there is more competition than ever before. But every day that's true in every industry. Like, it's not going backwards. It's always more people are coming on. But I think the good news is there's also more consumption than ever before. 2.6 billion monthly active users on YouTube, 1.5 billion monthly active users just consuming YouTube Shorts. That's a new opportunity. YouTube Shorts is getting 50 million daily video views. A lot of the people that we get to coach and connect with are experiencing a lot of breakout growth from YouTube Shorts, embracing the new thing. I don't think that's where this conversation should start, but YouTube just rolled out a whole bunch of podcast features. And they're going to be distributing podcasts on YouTube Music. So what's wild is in 2023, it is possible to still be kind of a first mover or early adopter. Even Shorts is 2 years old, but the competition doesn't move as fast as people think. So I think YouTube Shorts, podcasts. I think the other thing to consider is maybe just taking your and I's conversation a little bit on faith, knowing that we have stories. We have endless stories at Think Media of brand new channels that are starting in the last few months, stories that are coming in since January 2023 of people that have quickly gotten their first 150, 375, 3,000 subscribers. Larry went into the personal finance niche. Here would be the argument. Is it crowded in the personal finance? Are you kidding? Like, it seems like people go, oh, already Graham Stephan, or Clear Value Tax, or
Dave Ramsey.
It's already full.
Yeah.
Yet he stepped into with a brand new channel. He got 1,000 subscribers in a week. He got 53,000 in 6 months, and he only posted 14 videos. So there is still opportunity to break through. I think some of the best practices would include figuring out your difference, looking for the classic book on positioning. How can you be positioned? You're not going against the number one or number two. You're finding that niche vertical that you can have a concentrated effort on one area, niching down, as they say in online market, the riches are in the niches.
Yeah.
And so thinking about how can you niche down?
Let's unpack that a little bit more. So what does that exercise look like? What does that process look like? I mean, Seth Godin, always takes me to school and he reminds me, Brian, it's only about two things. You should ask yourself two questions. The first question is, what's it for?
Yeah.
And this is not Simon Sinek's, why movement. It's not that. It's like, what's the goal? What's the point?
Yeah.
Why even do this? What are you trying to achieve? Do you want to be famous? Do you want to earn money? Are you selling something? Do you have an awareness problem? Do you make more people aware of your existence? Like, what's it for? And then once you figure that out, the second question is, who's it for?
Yeah.
And when you figure out who it's for, and like everyone is a wrong answer, right? It's got to be for a particular group. That's what you're talking about, niching down. Once you figure that out, then it's just about how to serve those people best, and then rinse and repeat. But so let's go back to the process of figuring out who it's for.
Yeah.
What's that look like? Are we doing Google searches? Are YouTube searches? Are we looking at landscapes?
So that you should absolutely start with market research, but let's talk about some slices on niching down, because I think people still might feel limited on this. If you were starting a new brick and mortar restaurant chain, it's going to be hard from scratch to go against somebody that's national. So what is one of the ways you could niche down? Well, you could just dominate a geographic area.
Right.
So ways of going smaller, there's multiple different ways. And if you stack these, so geography is one. Many of our loan officer real estate agent clients are crushing their niche markets by doing market updates, tips for buying homes. And they're not trying to just get broad appeal viral videos that the market's crashing. They're just dominating Snohomish, Washington. So that's a geography, even leveraging YouTube, and then also other platforms as well. People following them on Facebook, Instagram, and they're getting more leads and customers as a result. So geography is one. Age is a big one that people don't think about very much. Mm-hmm. Take the thing that you're competing for, but do it for baby boomers, or take the thing you're competing for, but do it for Gen X.
Yeah.
And then gender would be another layer. As soon as you talk about, the number one video podcast on YouTube for Gen Z female entrepreneurs. You're already, just as far as we're in the conversation, like you're going to do pretty well. And that people are afraid to, it's hard to get this amount of clarity, but gender would be another one. The other thing would be show format. Like in some cases, there's a lot of longer form podcast conversations. If you become the 5-minute show and you really stick to that, then that's another way of packaging things in a different way. Some people want a consumer.
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask, what prevents people from niching down? It seems like there's this knee-jerk fear. It's like all of a sudden it's because it's counterintuitive, right?
It is.
I'm instantly limiting, isolating, or even, polarizing, right? I'm ignoring a total piece of the pie, an audience.
Yes.
So why is that a good idea?
Yeah, I think what prevents people is fear. Fear that the market won't be big enough. Fear also so much constraints on themselves that they'll be disciplined enough.
Yeah.
Because I think the reason it's a good idea is it could be the difference between winning and losing. So I guess you could take a risk with the potential of losing. Not that there's a guarantee of winning, but Sun Tzu, the famous military general and author of The Art of War, says every battle is won before it's even fought. So if we're approaching a YouTube channel, we can't guarantee success, but what if I could guarantee you success? What if I could guarantee you could win the battle before you even fight the battle? The reason Sun Tzu said that is he's like, okay, if I sit down, I'm going to look at the entire landscape. Okay, I'm going to look at, it's winter, so that's going to affect things. There's going to be ice. Will the horses be as happy? I'm going to look at the actual landscape. How many forces do they have versus how many forces do we have? I'm going to look at what are our resources, what weapons do we have? And so a lot of times people don't sit down to actually assess all the different angles. So if you assess your strengths, your competitor's strengths, you assess, and then you also just assess facts about you. Like chances are, unless you're a very interesting baby boomer, your niche should be to other baby boomers, probably, or you're Gen X and maybe you're able to, I spoke at an event recently for all financial service providers, but there are people who are retirement. Okay. And so they only needed a couple clients baby boomers with $1 to $4 million to manage. And with their 1.5% fee that they earned or whatever, like they did not need that many clients. So I'm talking on YouTube. That's I think the other big key of Seth's question of who you're trying to reach and what problem you're trying to solve. If you're trying to get famous, that's a whole different deal than you're just trying to build a niche YouTube channel that attracts enough clients to your business model. Or if you just want to be a micro influencer, there's plenty of people with 5, 10, 30,000 kind of subscriber ranges that can make incredible depending on the business model. And that goes in all of the above. So obviously, this is bigger than this conversation to get in the nuances. But I think for many, it's fear. It's also the uninformed conclusion people have come to that the only way to succeed on YouTube is 1 million subscribers and 10 million views.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts, and so if I niche down too much, I can't get that. And you're like, well, there's a whole world that exists over here in terms of ways to monetize, business models that exist. And so I think that's where things get exciting. And what also gets exciting is if you study marketing warfare and you study positioning itself, you're not going to be, you and I can't start a soft drink and take out Coke. Like that's just we could be as ambitious as possible, ambitious, we could try, again, the amount of money, and we still would probably lose. That's what the book Positioning would teach. And it makes sense. The goal is not to try to take out Coke or Pepsi, it's to be different. And what they teach in really good book, Marketing Warfare, which is kind of a follow-up to positioning, that you figure out who the number one is. So even if there's copycats of Mr. Beast or whatnot, but the goal is not to just copy Mr. Beast or copy Casey Neistat. You figure out who number one is. If you're in number one position, you just are a defender. You figure out who number two is. If you're number two, that's the only person who should do offense because they're big enough to take away a little bit of the market share of number one. Number three, you're going to do flanking warfare. So you say, I'm just going to do the Volkswagen Beetle. I'm not going to try to compete. Volkswagen shouldn't try to do trucks like Chevy or Ford. I'm going to flank and maybe find one. They're going bigger. I'm going to go smaller. I'm going to go Volkswagen. Mm-hmm. But what's wild is that's only like the top 3 companies. That's what they should either do, offense, defense, or flanking. For 97% of the rest of companies, which is 97% of all of us, like I would argue we're all probably like we're all in the 97% unless we're Disney, Coca-Cola,
Logan Paul,
Chevy, Logan Paul. You do guerrilla warfare, which is finding a slice of the market that the big guys wouldn't even care about.